Everyone's got a dream, but most people stop right there. The dream is free, the hustle is sold separately. Most people want the outcome, but very, very few are building an actual plan to physically earn it. And here was the other thing, plan B sucks. There can't be a plan B, because if there is a plan B, you're giving yourself permission to fail. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the LFG Energy Podcast. I have been out speaking a lot. It's been kind of a crazy last few months with speaking engagements almost every week that have had me on an airplane and ultimately in a different city. And some of these events that I've been speaking at have been really focused on personal and professional growth, not just specifically marketing and business development, but really like how do you get better as an individual? And I have been referencing quite consistently bits from a conversation that I had with an incredible human being that you know well, but you know him only through the character that played him in a really famous movie from years ago. Now, if you know me, you know that I love a good tearjerker, and I call it like a happy cry, something that inspires you. And I think, without a doubt, one of those movies, I'm sure you'll agree with me, is The Pursuit of Happyness. Chris Gardner is the character that Will Smith was depicting and playing in that movie. Now, I got to meet the real, in-person Chris Gardner, the actual guy. Now, I say that with excitement because when I was told that he was going to be in Las Vegas for this TV show, and I was going to be interviewed by a group of panelists, one of them was to be Chris Gardner. And I said, wait a second, where have I heard that name when they were announcing this to me? And they said, this is the gentleman that Will Smith played in the movie The Pursuit of Happyness. And I couldn't believe it. I said, wow, the actual guy. And I didn't even know what he looked like because I hadn't seen anything of him online. So I Googled him. So I had a sense of what he looked like and got to read more about his story. It reconnected me with all the feels from that movie. And if you haven't seen the movie, definitely watch it, because if you need some inspiration, you need a good cry, you need to be reminded of just how hard things can be, but yet, in spite of those difficulties, people still achieve such tremendous things, then that's your film. And so when I knew that Chris was gonna be there, I was really, really excited to meet him. And I didn't even know, to be honest with you, like what I would say to this guy. I just knew that I was going to be probably starstruck because here's this inspiring figure who had no business making it to where he's at. And I know we can say that about a lot of people, but really, truly, when you think about this guy and what he was going through on the streets while taking care of his son and sleeping in homeless shelters, sleeping in public restrooms, sleeping in churches, anything to just make it through day to day, to ultimately starting his own wealth management firm. It's nothing short of miraculous. So the theme here of today's episode, guys, is that everyone's got a dream, but most people stop right there. And think of New Year's resolutions. We're coming up on New Year's, right? It's only a few months away. And this is the time of year when everyone creates goals or dreams of where they want to see themselves end up a year from now, or at some point over the course of the next 12 months. And so people will write them down. But 90% of New Year's resolutions, probably a little bit higher than that, but let's go with 90 for right now. 90% of them fail. And why is that? It's because there's no actual plan or process behind this dream. People write it down and then stick it in a drawer. When what they should be doing is write down that goal, and then for every single one of those goals or resolutions or dreams that they have, creating a 3, 6, 9 month, several week, whatever it might be, with day-to-day processes plan that they have to stick to and follow. Because if they do this, then the end results will take care of themselves. We've all heard the expressions, trust the process, enjoy the process, embrace the process. That's really what this is about. So when I was talking with Chris, we went through the interview, of course, and I had some side conversations with him and told him about some mutual interaction that I had had with the same church that he actually slept in quite often, because we featured them on a TV show just weeks before I had this opportunity to meet Chris. And when we were at dinner that night, I sat down and had a fascinating conversation, just he and I, while everyone else was kind of off to the side there during the happy hour. He wasn't drinking or doing anything. He just wanted to sit down. Maybe he was tired. So I sat next to him and just took advantage of the opportunity to be able to speak to this incredible human. And one thing he said to me that hit me so hard was that everybody has a dream, but what's the plan? What are we actually doing to get there? And that's why I want to connect this episode with the whole New Year's resolution fallacy, or the fact that everyone has goals and visions, but no one's actually doing all the right things to ultimately get there. And in this conversation, as he said that, he mentioned a few other things. The dream is free. The hustle is sold separately. Most people want the outcome, but very, very few are building an actual plan to physically earn it. And here was the other thing that he said, guys, at the end of that hit me really, really hard, which was that plan B sucks. And I thought about that, and it instantly took me to a Tony Robbins video or a quote, which is that if you want to take the island, you have to burn the boats. And what this all means, guys, is there can't be a plan B. Because if there is a plan B, you're giving yourself permission to fail with plan A. You're actually leaving the exit door open, or you have one foot already out the door. You're not all in on plan A because a plan B actually exists and you're ready to default to it at any moment. Well, if you do that, your whole heart, your whole energy, your whole being cannot be behind. All that energy cannot be fully behind plan A. And that's what it ultimately takes when we want to achieve greatness, when we want to do something big, transformative, or actually make that New Year's resolution come to life. Because for most people, a New Year's resolution is something that is transformative. It's going from where they feel stuck now and ultimately ending up or waking up in a totally different place. That's not going to happen without a plan. That's not going to happen if there's even a plan B. It's got to be all or nothing, plan A or bust. And that's the harsh truth, guys. If you've got a plan B, you're not serious about plan A. So I'm gonna break down why the most successful people I know in business, sports, and life go all in, and why that's not reckless. It's actually required. Okay, so we already know that a dream is an aspiration. It's a feeling, it's a future ideal, but it has no weight until it's actually backed by a plan. And plans matter because it breaks down the someday dream into actual daily action steps. Now, if you take Chris Gardner, for example, his story wasn't just about hope. It was about showing up every day, even when it didn't even seem possible, when everything said to basically quit. Here's the interesting thing too that he shared with me. In the movie, when Will Smith played that character of him, and his actual real life son played the role of Chris Gardner's son, the film casted role for the son was like a 5 or a 6-year-old. The reality is that when Chris was on the streets going through what he was going through, his son was about 15 months old, which when you stop to think about a single father taking care of a 15-month-old, and every day that he would go into this internship that he qualified for, an unpaid one, more importantly, he was trusting complete strangers to look after his 15-month-old son. When he slept in homeless shelters or when he slept in public restrooms, it was with his 15-month-old son. Now that's just crazy. But again, it speaks to how resilient this man is. Now for athletes, creatives, and sales pros, you already know how this goes. You have to have an action plan in place. You have to be training and moving towards something. But if you also know this, then why is it that we only apply it towards these physical goals that we have and not our actual day-to-day goals or our professional goals? All right, so next, guys, I want to talk about the psychology of not having a plan B, like basically erasing it from existence. It's not there, so don't even bother thinking about it. There's the Tony Robbins quote that if you give yourself the option to fail, you will. And if you haven't seen his video on YouTube or anywhere else on social media about burning the boats to take the island, then watch it. It's a quick watch, but it so very much applies to what we're talking about here today. Also, if you know me, guys, you know that I love not just tearjerker films, but just inspiring movies in general. And I'll watch them over and over again. One of them that I've watched and I've extracted so much from in terms of mantras for life and for business was Apollo 13. Now in Apollo 13, Gene Kranz, who's leading the rescue mission from the Houston headquarters, famously said, and he actually wrote a book with this title, that failure is not an option. Now for this man, there was no plan B. They had to make plan A work to perfection because there was no room for error if they were going to bring these 3 astronauts back home. They didn't spend time brainstorming what ifs. They just simply executed. Now, surely with a mission that large, if we think about the film, maybe some kind of a contingency plan or an alternative plan would seem appropriate. But they didn't have the luxury of time. They needed to operate with 100% or near 100% certainty. And also, because they were under such duress to come up with this plan, he must have recognized that a plan B will actually undermine your energy to execute. It splits your focus and ultimately gives you permission to tap out. Now that's not reckless, because some would say that it is. It's actually the opposite. It's just being committed. Okay, now I want to leave you guys with some tactical tools for taking whatever it is, whether it's a business plan, it's a vision of a future you, it's a New Year's resolution, it's whatever your dream is or what you're aspiring to become, to actually make this a reality. How do we come up with and create a real plan? The first thing is that you want to reverse engineer your dream. Take it and turn it into a 1-year and a 30-day target, and break down micro steps that are going to lead you to those 30-day and 1-year targets. What do you need to do each day? Commit to a daily action, something that you can check the box and say, I accomplished this today, because those micro steps are ultimately going to fuel your confidence, support your brain, and continue its hardwiring into knowing that this is possible and that you accomplish this. It gives you momentum, and it ultimately takes you one step closer to that end goal. The next thing is you need to strongly, intensely visualize that plan A is winning, because wherever your attention and focus goes, so too will your energy. If you go to bed every night envisioning this thing happening, this transformation occurring, this goal being achieved, and the things that you're doing along the way to get there, Your brain at some point can get tricked and will not know the difference as to whether it's already happened or is about to happen. And somehow, in some magical way, because energy and the universe works this way, your body will just follow suit. At some point, you turn into a robot that's just following along in these steps, all along this pathway to greatness. Some people call this manifesting. Some call it strong visualization. You can call it whatever you want, but it actually works. Lastly, guys, you must, and I mean must with a capital M, eliminate the exit ramps. Stop trying and start training, just like an athlete does. Trying is passive. Training is proactive. Never forget that. So guys, remember, the dream is free. It costs you nothing to come up with it. But the discipline, that is actually earned. That's where you pay the toll. If you're waiting to feel ready, you'll never move. If you've heard in a previous episode, I talked about the secret of billionaires and how they got to where they're at. And the number one thing is speed of execution. They never wait until they're fully ready. They operate, in most cases, with 70% certainty and figure out the 30% along the way. Make sure you build the plan. Be specific. Create daily action steps and kill plan B. It doesn't exist. Throw it away. Because when you do all of this, guys, you won't just chase success. You'll actually create it. You'll manifest it. It will happen. So that conversation and time that I spent with Chris Gardner was life-changing. And I wanted to share that with you because I've been referencing him a lot in recent keynotes. So I hope that you found this episode useful. If it was, or it impacted you in some way over the course of these last few minutes, please take a screenshot of this, share it on social media and tag me in it, because I want to create more episodes like this. And I also want to know that it's having an impact on you. And if there's something specific you want to share about a recent win or a victory or a similar process that you put in place for yourself or that you're going to do now after having heard this episode, send me a DM on Instagram at Arjun Mortgage. And speaking of going hard at plan A and recognizing that plan Bs don't exist, we have a unique opportunity for all of our LFG Society members to come together for what is going to be a full-day mastermind here in San Francisco on December 5th. It's called Society Day, and again, it's for members only. But we are going to be collaborating in the same energy and context of what I just shared with you here on this episode. Coming up with plan A's and plan A's only, because remember, plan B sucks. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next week on the LFG Energy Podcast.